Lab Neutron gets chilled, the JAXA Epsilon-S rocket explosion, RFA does advent calendar, Starbase update, Sierra Space shooting star update, Europe regain full space sovereignty, bad news for Sutherland Spaceport, new NASA administrator, launches of the week. I'm Christophe Paget from All About Space, and this is your Space Update. Rocket Lab is developing its new rocket called Neutron to compete with the growing competition in the medium launch market. Rocket Lab has made its name with its small launcher Electron, launching from New Zealand and Virginia in the USA. I have previously talked about the progress made by Rocket Lab on its Neutron rocket, such as the completion of their world's largest automated manufacturing tool, various part readiness, and the new launch complex Pack 3 in Wallops in Virginia. This week, Rocket Lab provided a few pictures of the launch pad where we could see the foundation now complete and the erection of the steel launch mount and its platform on top. Rocket Lab has also produced a second stage without the engines and was testing its performance through an initial wet dress rehearsal and successfully ran its flight avionics, pressurization, and propellant management systems to emulate flight operations. So great news for Rocket Lab. JAXA and Mitsubishi Heavy Industry, or MHI, have been working on the Epsilon-S rocket, a solid fuel rocket based on the side boosters of the H3 rocket. It is aimed at replacing the earlier Epsilon model, which first flew in 2013, which was discontinued after its only failure in 2022 because it is based on the side boosters of the H2 rocket, which is also being discontinued. Back in July 2023, MHI and JAXA suffered an explosion of their booster during tests. After a redesign, this week JAXA and MHI have reconducted another series of tests which resulted in another explosion, as you could see. Space is hard and our Japanese colleagues are in the thick of it. RFA has been an example of transparency to the public, where during hard time they have come clean in public about the difficulty they have faced, such as the explosion of the RFA-1 first stage on the pad in Scotland, or being vocal about the need of more leadership by ESA and the member states on space ambition. This week, RFA is using the Advent calendar to show the public his RFA-1 inside out, with the inside of his first stage tank section being worked on, followed by his helix engine just after a series of testing, or his RFA-1 first stage on his launch pad in Saxford in Scotland. RFA is showing pictures of his staff building the pad and setting the rocket on his clamps. So thank you, RFA, for sharing these pictures with us. At Starbase in Boca Chica at the production site, the Starship number 34, the one to be used in two flight tests away number 8, is receiving his fittings inside. Starship number 35 nose cone seems ready to be stacked, and the office building facade is nearing completion. At the launch site, further preparation for the tower number 2 flame trench is happening. SpaceX is also continuing working on the launch mount number 1 in preparation for flight test number 7. Sierra Space has the ambition of operating a reusable spacecraft capable of transporting cargo and crew to space stations. As part of the CRS-2 contract from NASA, Sierra Space has been working on its Dream Chaser, currently being tested at NASA Kennedy Space Center, before a launch on a ULA Vulcan Centaur in the second half of next year. The Dream Chaser comes with a second cargo compartment called the Shooting Star, also acting as a service module to reach the space station. The Dream Chaser would then land back on Earth like the Space Shuttle did, whilst the Shooting Star cargo module would burn off during atmospheric re-entry. Lockheed Martin and Applied Composites are partnering in this project. Although Sierra Space has not yet completed its first demonstrator, it is already building the second and even third Dream Chaser and Shooting Star cargo modules, as you could see on your screen, in his Dream factory in Colorado. We have not heard much about the ESA Vega-C rocket lately. That's because it had suffered a nozzle issue on his Zefiro 40 engines 2 years ago, and Avio, the prime contractor, has focused his effort in troubleshooting the issue and carried out extensive testing. This week, Vega-C is back in Kourou at the European Spaceport in French Guiana. Vega-C fills a sweet gap in payload weight, capable of lifting 3.3 metric tons to low Earth orbit, a typical weight for small scientific and Earth observation satellites. At 35 meters tall, Vega-C has 3 solid propellant-powered stages and a 4th liquid propellant stage, making Vega-C the most performant European rocket after Ariane 6 today, but also for at least the next 5 years. I will publish a guide to European rockets in a few weeks from now, so please subscribe to this channel so that you will not miss it. Arianespace, a subsidiary of Ariane Group, is the launch service provider for the satellite Sentinel-1C customer Copernicus, which has just been successfully launched to an accurate sun-synchronous orbit. Sentinel-1C will deliver radar imagery to monitor Earth's changing environment to support a diverse range of applications and scientific research for the European Union's space program managed by the European Commission. Not only it will continue delivering continuous all-weather day and night imaging of Earth's surface, mapping capabilities to aid disaster response such as flood events, and now includes an automatic identification system for maritime surveillance. Orbex, a rocket provider startup company located near Inverness in Scotland, has been developing a small lift rocket called Prime with a maiden flight expected in 2025. The particularity of Orbex versus other European rocket providers is the fact that they are building their launch site for their use only out of Sutherland in Midland, northern Scotland. Now, this is of course a massive enterprise because it's not only the pad which requires attention, but also the tank farm, the integration facilities, and hardest of all, the spaceport operating license. It did cross my mind why Orbex did not use Saxo-Vault for it. After all, the site out of the Scottish islands of Shetland has already received his operating license and is not far from Inverness. Well, this week, Orbex announced it has stopped its construction work on his Sutherland Spaceport and will instead shift its launchpad construction to Saxo-Vault. Saxo-Vault will get busier earlier than expected, especially after losing its customer ABL, which recently ceased commercial launch activities. The savings made from using the existing Saxo-Vault launch site will allow Orbex to concentrate their spare funding on a medium-lift rocket to be competitive with other European rocket providers. Another US president, another NASA administrator. Sadly, this vital role comes with a political affiliation. The US President-elect Donald Trump has chosen his new head of NASA, a name all the space fans would recognize, Jared Isaacman. Who is he? Well, this is a young entrepreneur who made billions with his tech company Shift4. He has been very present in the world of aviation, being a keen pilot for many aircraft, including fighter jets, and has even tasted space and spacewalk, being the person who has been the farthest away from Earth into space. Now, this is clearly fresh blood coming to NASA, and let's see what his legacy will be and how he will handle the financial constraints, for example, on the Artemis program. November 29th, Roscosmos launched a Soyuz 2.1A from Russia for his mission Condor FKA number 2. November 30th, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 from Florida for his Starlink mission group 665. The first stage flew for his sixth time and landed on a drone ship. On the same day, SpaceX launched another Falcon 9 from California for his mission Enroll 126. The first stage was brand new and landed on a drone ship. Later on that day, CSC launched his Long March 12 for his maiden flight from China. To give you an idea in terms of performance, this new rocket is less performant than a Falcon 9 and is in direct competition to the Long March 7 and 8. December 3rd, CSC launched a Long March 3BE from China for his mission TJSW-13. December 4th, X-Space launched a Kaizu 1A from China for his mission Haishao 1. On the same day, SpaceX launched another Starlink mission Group 670 with a Falcon 9 from Florida. The first stage flew for his 24th time and landed on a drone ship. Later that day, the Russian Space Forces launched a Soyuz 2.1B from Russia for his mission Cosmos 2780. December 5th, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 from California for his Starlink mission Group 914. The first stage flew for his 12th time and landed on a drone ship. Later on that day, CSC launched a Long March 6A from China for his mission Qiangfan 60 Polar Group 3. Then it was the turn of ISRO and his PSLV XL launch from India for his ESA mission Proba 3. The day continued with SpaceX and his Falcon 9 from Florida for his mission SXM-9. The first stage flew for his 19th time and landed on a drone ship. Finally, the busy day ended with an Arianespace launch of his Vega-C from French Guiana for his mission Sentinel-1C. In summary, from January 1st until December 5th, 2024, 242 rockets were launched successfully. Out of that, 148 were from an American company or institution, 61 from China, 16 from Russia, 5 from India, and 4 from Europe. I leave you this week with an image from Giorgio Ferrari of the Elephant's Trunk Nebula, also known as VDB 142, located in the Young Star Cluster Complex IC 1396 in the constellation of Cepheus, some 2,400 light-years away from us. His trunk is about 20 light-years long and is made of interstellar dust and gas in abundance in that particular region. But the dark clouds contains the raw material for star formation and hide protostars within, meaning that the very young stars are gathering mass from its parent molecular cloud to grow to a full-blown star. It took Giorgio a considerable amount of time to get such an image and clear picture. I'm Christophe Paget for All About Space. See you at the next episode of Space News.